Welcome to the wonderful world of dance, bringing you exclusive interviews with top dancers and choreographers and reviews of the world's best companies across the globe. You can find lots more on our website at thewonderfulworldofdance.com.
Hi, this is Savannah Saunders, and I'm excited to be talking with Robert Parker, award-winning former principal dancer with the Birmingham Royal Ballet and currently artistic director of the acclaimed Elmhurst Ballet School. Elmhurst is the oldest and one of the most successful ballet schools, not just in the UK, but across the world. They train young ballet students to succeed in the professional dance world. Significantly, this renowned ballet school trained a quarter of this year's finalists of the prestigious Genée International Ballet Competition. One of their students, Hamish Scott, went on to win bronze. And we'll be talking to him as part of this three-part mini-series on Elmhurst, starting today with Robert Parker, followed by Hamish and then ballet student Lydia Holt. This will give a unique insight into the school, the vision, what it's like as a student, and how it prepares young dancers for their first step into a company. Hi, Robert. Thank you very much for joining us.
Hi, Savannah. It's lovely to be here. Thanks for having me.
Fabulous. So first, let's talk about yourself. Tell us about your own dance life. You studied with the Royal Ballet School. When did you start dancing when you were young, and what was your experience of the famous Royal Ballet School?
Okay, sure. Well, I'll start when I was introduced to ballet. I was 7 years old. It does sound a little bit cliche nowadays, but I think if you drum up the image of Billy Elliot, I think you could safely say I was a sort of one of that ilk, I guess you could say. Very typical northern working class background. I had two sisters and a brother, and my two sisters went to the local dance school because I was the youngest of four. We couldn't afford a babysitter, so my mum used to take me along to the lessons, which I used to sit at the front. And I think it's safe to say I was slightly disruptive at that time, and was made it my mission to distract my two sisters in the class. And finally, the teacher had enough, and she said, "Robert, next lesson you're joining in." And the rest, as they say, is history. I turned up the next week in a pair of grey school shorts, and she introduced me to the Grand Plie à la Seconde. And she turned to my mum and said, "I think you may have a ballet dancer here, Bernadette."
Wow.
Those were the beginnings, and I think, being the only boy and obviously receiving a lot of attention, it was a good introduction. I think suddenly learning something new, a new skill. I think what really hit me was the sense of coordination and the musicality required for ballet, and it's something that I hadn't really experienced before. And I suppose it's safe to say I took to it like a duck to water, but it was the challenge of it all, particularly with honing and perfecting the classical technique, was a real challenge to me. And a few years down the line, one of my sisters auditioned for the Royal Ballet School White Lodge, and was successful, and she was there for a year. And I decided to follow her in her footsteps and joined the Royal Ballet School at the age of 11. Where I stayed up until my graduate year, where I was given my job with Birmingham Royal Ballet in 1994. So it was great beginnings. I really took to the discipline well, and that was the first thing that struck me about my ballet training. With my first dance teacher, who was very strict, but also the introduction at White Lodge. I was very struck by just how disciplined and how much the hard work was expected of you. I'd had a fairly, I wouldn't say a disciplined upbringing, but my father worked away a lot. He was a builder. My mum was a nurse and often worked nights. So we were raised a lot by my grandma, who was a disciplinarian, and she probably knew more proverbs than anyone else in history. And I think a lot of it stuck. If a job's worth doing, it's worth doing well. There's no substitute for hard work. All of these kind of quotes that she would constantly bark at us really stuck with me. So moving to the Royal Ballet School and being exposed to such rigorous training, I think I was prepared for. That's not to say it wasn't difficult. leaving home at the age of 11 is always going to be difficult. But the great thing about going to a vocational ballet school like that is the fact that you are amongst like-minded people who share the same passion for ballet as you do. And I think that can really help you through the rigorous training and the discipline that is expected of you. You're all in it together, and you'll often speak to people who've experienced vocational training, and they will have met friends and maintained those friendships for the rest of their lives.
Absolutely. I've spoken with a lot of dancers who say exactly that about their experience of intense training environments, which is fantastic. I mean, you joined the Birmingham Royal Ballet under the directorship of the incredible Sir Peter Wright and rose quickly to principal dancer. Do you think the training that you had prepared you well for the professional life of a dancer and the particular challenges faced, and also the great life also of a principal dancer?
Absolutely. I mean, the discipline doesn't stop, and what the professional expectations of you only continue as you become a professional dancer. And I think the training at vocational ballet school really does set you up for that. The one thing that it also did allow me to do, particularly in the upper school, was the exposure to the profession. And I think having both the school and the company in the same premises as it was back then in Barons Court was absolutely crucial and pivotal to myself and what I'd learned about my craft. I think we were very fortunate at the time to, I was at the time what I consider to be a golden era of the Royal Ballet. I used to come out of my A-level art class, and 10 feet away would be the Covent Garden studio, where you would see such greats like Irek Mukamedov, Jonathan Cope, obviously Sylvie Guillem, Darcy Bussell, Tetsuya Kamakawa, of course, who was like the technical wizard of the company. Yeah. It was really rich with the people and the artists that it had. I'm also seasoned enough to remember observing a rehearsal for Romeo and Juliet taken by Sir Kenneth Macmillan himself, and just to be able to almost absorb, almost by osmosis, absorb that rich heritage and these incredible people who've dedicated their lives to perfecting their craft. It was just such a awe-inspiring sight, and I think that really did rub off on me as a young student at the time.
And you became artistic director almost 5 years ago of Elmhurst. Can you tell us about your vision for the school and how perhaps those experiences you've just talked about have shaped your vision?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the 5 years, it seems, I can't believe it's gone, so quickly. But a great deal has happened in the last 5 years. I mean, when I first joined Elmhurst, I was already coming into a well-established school, and my predecessor, Desmond Kelly, did wonderful things with the school and was really crucial, with solidifying and cementing that relationship with the Birmingham Royal Ballet. I'd obviously worked with Desmond, while I was at the company, and it again, that was an awe-inspiring learning curve for myself. And again, growing up and being exposed and through observation, seeing some of the greats in action, I was really fortunate to have worked alongside people like Desmond and Marion Tate, Michael O'Hare, obviously Kevin O'Hare as well, his brother. Yeah. And at the time, the company was just, it was just full of performers. They were technically gifted, of course, but they were real characters on stage. And that was something that I was determined to continue when I took over the school, and sort of continue that legacy that Desmond had set up. The first thing actually that I was tasked with doing when I joined the school was to write an artistic vision document. So this was a great opportunity to really get under the skin of the school, and we conducted what we call a self-supported review. And in essence, what it is looking under the surface of the school consulting with everyone in the school to say what changes would we like to make. What's going well, what can be improved, where do we want to see the direction of travel. And that was a really great experience for me, because I was new to the school, and it was a good chance for me to consult with the staff. And they'd been, they'd obviously been they're seasoned professionals. They've all had absolutely wonderful careers in professional dance companies, and obviously great experience in teaching. And there was a great deal that I could learn from them. So to have their input and voice was absolutely crucial for the direction of travel. And so following those meetings, we through the outcomes of those meetings, that gave me the opportunity to craft an artistic vision document. And of course, I came with my own ideas and proclivities, and went to contacted lots of the artistic directors that I knew in the UK and further afield, and sort of almost like a consultation. And I thought it was really important for me to have their input as well, or their thoughts on what ideas were. And it was very simple. I've got a school. I'd like to produce dancers for your company. What would you like to see produced? It was no more complicated than that.
Great question. Yeah.
The response I had was overwhelming. I sent it to people like Kevin O'Hare and Christopher Hampson, David Nixon. It was really crucial. I thought their feedback was absolutely extraordinary, and very much along the lines of what I was thinking anyway. But I think that some additional ideas that they had were really crucial. So things like creativity and autonomy in dancers was something that came out quite clearly, as well as a greater sense of physicality and fearlessness when working with choreographers, and really preparing the students for industry standards. And I think that was one things that I've been really trying to hone since I've been artistic director here at the school. I think what we do very well here is in preparing the students for the industry. I think we really are very good at taking this holistic approach to training. Even our strapline is live, dance, learn. And we really like to produce a thinking dancer, a dancer that can, be mature, independent, self-confident, and, have this non-institutionalized approach to communication, and can really take charge of their own learning, self-health management, all of those things. And this is the thing that we've been working on for some time now.
The training required for a dance student to become a professional in the dance world today sounds, as you say, very complex and holistic. What other aspects of the school and your vision are you embedding to ensure that you prepare dancers for professional life?
Yes, well, it's a really good question. Of course, it's a constant challenge for a school to produce dancers for an industry which is, let's face it, evolving and changing on a day-to-day basis. And it's our job now to keep abreast the industry, and obviously keep in contact with the industry leaders to ensure that our students are adequately prepared for the rigors of what they will be expected in professional life. For example, working with, there is no such thing as a pure classical ballet company today, and they are expected to be doing, to put their bodies through, from classical ballet suddenly change into, more modern forms. And I think the boundaries are very much blurred at the moment. So it is a challenge to prepare them for that. So I think having the adaptability is extremely important, and versatility. Obviously, as a ballet, ballet is our classical ballet is our primary discipline, and of course the supporting styles that go along with it, such as the pas de deux, the solos, the repertoire. And we've just reviewed our system of training here at the school with assistance from the wonderful Diane Van Score. She was absolutely wonderful. The great thing about this school is, and this is going back to another quote from my grandma, a job is as good as the people you work with. And
absolutely.
Yeah. And all of our ballet tutors here at the school, and in fact all of the tutors across the board in terms of the academics and the pastoral care are absolutely second to none. They are absolutely disciplined, driven, passionate, dedicated, and very, very nurturing of our students. And working alongside them and learning from them has been an absolutely wonderful experience, and I feel truly blessed to have the support from them. And I think having that team around me has been absolutely pivotal.
Absolutely.
And I'm really thankful for that. But going back to the versatility side of things, we have an additional diet of contemporary dance, which we've been strengthening over the years. Also jazz and flamenco and character dance.
Yeah.
So they get a full-rounded diet because they are going to be expected to be able to tackle lots of different styles across their career.
You've introduced new programs to the school, and one of those is called the Director's Day. Tell us how this came about.
Well, I think, Savannah, it was also in response to the artistic vision and the response from some of the directors. Mm-hmm. And they really wanted to see a greater level of creativity and autonomy in dancers when they graduate from a vocational school. And the graduate showcase was a great opportunity for the students to, display and hone their skills in these areas. And I was approached by a couple of the students. They were in the middle of their 3-year, well, they were in their graduate year, but and as part of their 3-year diploma, they asked if they could produce their own performance.
Okay.
And I thought this was a wonderful opportunity. They effectively create the performance from bottom to top, right from the staging, the choreography. They tackle the lighting, costuming. They will liaise with BRB mm-hmm. if they require costumes. They will obviously do ticket sales. They will design the programs. They will invite the VIPs to the performance, and they'll also raise money for charity. I mean, it ticks every box that you could think of. And the first couple that approached me, they delegated tasks to all of the other students in their year group. And I firmly believe that they went into that project as students and came out semi-professionals. And it gave them a real holistic sense of theatrical performance and all of the various elements and ingredients that go into making a performance. And they did such a wonderful job that it became a permanent fixture in the calendar. And I know you'll be speaking with Lydia Holt.
Yes.
She was instrumental in this year's graduate showcase. And she did an absolutely fantastic job, and she'll speak more about it herself, I'm sure.
Yes.
The lessons that she learned along the way. And it was extremely successful. So this is just one example of the autonomy that the students are experiencing here at the school. Student-led events and a greater emphasis on independent learning is an area that I think is key to success in this day and age, because they will be graduating into companies, and in my opinion, gone are the days where a choreographer will just tell them what to do. They will have to have a lot more input, 50-50 in some cases. They will have to effectively get their hands dirty. There will be a lot of task work involved. They will have to work and communicate with a choreographer in order to produce what they want. And this is the direction of travel, and preparing students for that, although challenging, is something that we are very eager to embrace as a school. And
some of the challenges that you've described around the requirement for versatility, the changing nature of the purist classical ballet company, the changing in working relationship with choreographers, and I speak to a lot of choreographers and ask them about how they work with dancers, and just as you have said, they like to have a interactive relationship when it comes to creating new works. But are there other challenges that you think are coming around the corner as the dance world continues to evolve, that you really need to now, sort of 5 years on, start thinking, well, in the next 5 years, these are the sorts of challenges or skills that we need to add to ensure that the next generation of students coming through are prepared for this new world?
Absolutely. Well, it's a really interesting question, and I think first of all is you've mentioned all the industry leaders. Well, they will be going on, and there will be a next generation of industry leaders as well, and I think they will be shaping the direction of travel when it comes to the future of dance. I think retaining the classics is crucial. It's very important.
Yes.
You have to know where you've come from. And I think majority of our students, they want to have that diet of classical ballet, and that is the remit. And, we are the associate school of the Birmingham Royal Ballet. So we have to prepare them for not only the purity of classical ballet and the challenges that brings, but also for what can be expected of them by, tomorrow's industry leaders and choreographers. And this is why we have very strong links to the professional world, and having the Hippodrome and the Dance Exchange, just 10 minutes down the road is absolutely vital for us. And it gives us these opportunities to bring in these industry leaders, visiting artists and choreographers into the school to work directly with the students. And I think that's a great asset of the school, is to give the students the opportunity to work hands-on with these people. I'm just thinking of the last few years, we've had people like Russell Maliphant, Alex Whitley, Michael Clark, Mark Ballet Black, Matthew Bourne, all of these people who can actually come in and work hands-on with the students. And it gives them such a great grounding. And, 9 times out of 10, they may repeat what we tell the students, but I think hearing it from, the horse's mouth does go a lot further.
Absolutely.
And bringing in choreographers to work with them for this various summer shows, and up and coming choreographers, people in the local area, because I think it's really important, to give opportunities to the local talent in the area.
Yeah.
I think, Birmingham itself is becoming such a dance hub. I think it's really good to keep our fingers on the pulse and expose our students to these upcoming industry leaders. We've had people like Corey Baker and Sonia Sabri, Carlos Ponguera. They've come into the school and worked and given workshops, and people like Motion House. I think it's absolutely vital that they have this grounding and this preparation for what could be expected of them in the future.
And do you think the expectations of the dance students is changing? I mean, I've spoken with some young dancers who, the millennials or the next generation, they're called the Generation Z or the iGen, whichever they get tagged with these days, but who sometimes tell me that they're looking for a more flexible career rather than the traditional ballet school, ballet company trajectory, where they want to be able to do a lot more guesting, travel. They're establishing side businesses, they're blogging, they've got thousands of followers on Instagram. Are you seeing that through the next generation of students coming through Elmhurst?
That's a really hard question to answer, actually, about the millennial dancers, because to be honest, I don't really see a lot of that happening in our school. So
the dream remains for a lot of students who come to Elmhurst. They see themselves on the stage at the Birmingham Royal Ballet or other major companies, perhaps in the UK or beyond, but they come there with that desire, that appetite, and as you say, you provide them with the diet of the classics to enable them to be ready to take on that next natural step into the company.
Yeah, I mean, I think, because our remit obviously is to produce classical ballet dancers for the likes of Birmingham Royal Ballet and other major classical ballet companies. So it's extremely important that they have that diet of traditional classical ballet, and obviously, we need to pass on that wonderful, rich British heritage to our students. So whenever we do our summer performances, we always ensure that we have some of the classical ballets in there, such as Peter Wright's Swan Lake, performed his wonderful Coppelia, Ashton's Two Pigeons, and Birthday Offering, and which is wonderful. And we bring in The Birmingham Royal Ballet, people like Dennis Bonner, who's the notator, he will actually set the ballets. We will have the principal dancers come in and rehearse them. Of course, all of our technical performances, the production values are delivered by the Birmingham Royal Ballet production department, and I'm so thankful for them, to them for their input. Also, there's David Bintley, which is wonderful. We were so fortunate to be able to perform his Penguin Cafe. And also, we're very fortunate that he's actually been working hands-on with the students this year, and he's produced a work for the school to be performed this July, entitled Comic, and it's with music by Raymond Scott, who composed for cartoons in the 1920s and 30s, and it's very whimsical in nature, great sense of humour, musical, of course, and the students have responded so well to it, and we are absolutely overjoyed and thankful for David for giving up his special his time to come and work with our students hands-on. It's wonderful.
And I have to ask, and I know many of our listeners out there will be interested to know, for either themselves or for their children who may be thinking, I'd love to potentially join Elmhurst. What does the school look for in potential candidates, so people who are auditioning to join the school?
Well, obviously, we're a primarily classical ballet school. That is our remit. So we are looking for students who obviously have the natural physical attributes for classical ballet, i.e. the use of turnout, the footwork, the flexibility. Also, things like the coordination, the musicality are extremely important. And of course, the performance side of things is extremely important. When you're looking at students or potential students for the school in an audition, you look for a sense of hunger. I think that that above all is the most important thing. Do they have what it takes to be a classical dancer and the rigors that that entails, and the very, very intense training? As a director, I won't just see what they're doing in front of my eyes in terms of the exercises that are being delivered. I will also watch and observe their body language on the side of the studio. Are they remaining focused? Are they speaking to their friend? Are they sitting down? Have they got their arms folding? Are they lolled at the bar? All of these things, they're very important. And what we are needing to see is this sense of focus and discipline and self-sacrifice. Is this something that they truly, truly want? Because it's not a hobby. Once they come to vocational school, it becomes a vocation, and the passion, the drive, and the discipline is of primary importance.
You also have a program called the Young Dancers Program. Is that right?
That's correct. So our Young Dancers Program, it's for students from the age of 8 to 10 years old, and it's headed by our assistant director, Denise Whiteman, who's doing wonderful things with the program, and it's expanding all the time. It's designed for talent identification and to give students the opportunity to see what vocational training would be like, and it's a wonderful vehicle for them to see, are they cut out for vocational training, and it's what we'd like to see is being able to nurture homegrown talent, and really raise the next generation of dancers, from the UK. And I think we're doing some wonderful work in this area. And like I said, I think Denise is doing a wonderful job, and it is expanding all of the time. So if there are people interested in Elmhurst Ballet School, that's a very good place to start.
As you say, vocational training requires discipline and focus, and it can be quite a full-on training program. How do you ensure that dancers and dance students look after their bodies and their health?
Yeah, well, that's one of the greatest challenges, Savannah, in today's industry, is preparing students for the rigours and the demands of the industry. I mean, gone are the days when you would just be doing pure classical ballet. It's all of the resident choreographers of the classical ballet companies are contemporary choreographers, and the expectations of dancers in terms of their physicality are beyond anything that even I experienced as a dancer. So we're having to respond to those demands and learn what we can do about maximizing the performance output and the adaptability and, essentially preventing injury in our students and extending their careers. So we're really responding to these. We're very lucky, actually, that we have, as a school, very good links with places like Dance UK, the National Institute of Dance Medicine and Science, and Professor Matt Wyan, who is the head of dance science at Wolverhampton University, is actually on our board of governors. And we've been given great advice. We've just recently opened up our brand new Health and Wellbeing Centre, which is essentially a great facility to coordinate all of our services under the one roof, like our physiotherapy, our rehabilitation, strength and conditioning, nutrition, and of course just all-round health care. And we're really taking a multi-agency approach to health and well-being of our students, which are of paramount importance. So it's really exciting times. We've also employed a PhD student, a strength and conditioning coach named Nico Kolokitas. I hope I pronounced his surname correctly. And he's been monitoring the impact and benefits of strength and conditioning on our students over the last couple of years. And it's a really exciting time. There's a lot we can learn from the sports science and the wonderful work that they've done. And it's not to detract from ballet as an art form, but it really is just to, what can we learn to maximize the performance output of our students and really teach them the adaptability and educate them in self-health management so they're not solely reliant on the health professionals and hopefully extend their careers. So this is a great, exciting time for us. We're learning a lot as we go. We also have wonderful links with the King Edward's High School, which is just 10 minutes down the road, and they've very kindly allowed us to use their facilities on a Friday afternoon. So we will take the students for swimming, gymnastics. We've done yoga. We're also in the process of building a multi-usage games area outside, because this is a wonderful environment, but it still is an artificial environment, of course. So it's wonderful to get the students out into the fresh air, get some sunshine, get their vitamin D, and actually use their bodies in a holistic way, in a holistic sense. And obviously, results in the sports world have shown that this is a really beneficial part of training in any kind of field, whether it's sports, whether it's ballet, whether it's gymnastics. So it's an area that we are very, very keen to embrace.
And you talked about getting out into the fresh air and into the sunshine. Recently, you travelled over to Australia for the Genée Ballet Competition, and where Hamish was privileged to be awarded a bronze. Tell us about how important, or the role of competitions and working with other companies sort of beyond the UK or beyond Birmingham to help raise the profile of the school.
Sure, absolutely. I know there's mixed reviews about competitions. Myself, I never entered a competition. It didn't do me any harm, but hats off to these students who do enter these competitions. I think they're very brave, for a start.
Yeah.
They are effectively pitching themselves against, the best in the world. And I think that's no bad thing. I understand why they would like to do that. It's a way of gauging how well they are doing in the broader sense, on a global scale. And, it's, from my perspective, it is, our students are our best advertisement. And, I think for them to enter these competitions and be, experience what it's like to be delivering on the spot, to have the build-up of nerves and really pull it out the bag when it matters, I think is a good thing. But it's more than that. It's a great performance opportunity for the students, and like I said, they are our best advertisement, and they, to have that, to have the accolades. It's been wonderful for the school.
Yeah.
To claim two out of the 5. We had the BBC Young Dancer competition recently, and 2 students from Elmhurst were through to the category final, out of the 5, and that was a wonderful accolade for the school. And also, as you said, the Genée competition in Sydney recently, out of the final 12, 3 of them were Elmhurst students. And in fact, we held an audition the day after the competition, and our audition numbers literally doubled. People wanted to know about Elmhurst, they wanted to see what the school was all about, and they all came along to the audition. So it was great in raising our profile and visibility on an international scale, and I frequently are adjudicator at the Youth American Grand Prix, Asian Grand Prix, and also once a year, some of our graduate students, they travel to Japan with one of our tutors, Michael Ho, and work and collaborate alongside the National Youth Ballet of Japan, which I know has always been extremely successful. Yeah. So, I think it's really important for us as a school to get our name out there, not just nationally, but internationally as well.
Well, I think you're doing a fantastic job, and as you say, your students are your best advertisement, and with the BBC Young Dancer Award broadcast on the BBC going on TV is an amazing step for dance. I think it's absolutely wonderful that every year this is becoming more and more popular.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great opportunity, but what is very heartwarming is to see our students representing themselves and representing the school so well off camera as well as on stage. And I think that is certainly one of the strengths that we have as a school, is this holistic approach to training and producing, self-confident, free-thinking, mature, well-rounded human beings. And I think if we've succeeded in that area, then we've done our job well.
Elmhurst has a summer show coming up. Tell us about that.
Really exciting this year. In the past, we have, in the last 2 years, we've performed at the Rep Theatre in the Birmingham City Centre, which has been a wonderful experience for the students and to give them that sort of industry feel. We are back at base this year, which is a really exciting opportunity to once again split the show. So we'll have lower school have their own show, as will the upper school, and then a combination of both. So we'll give them a little bit more stage time. We're very fortunate to have some visiting choreographers. Stefan Delatra, who's a German choreographer, will be coming to do a contemporary piece for our graduates. And also Adam Rutherford, who is a local choreographer here in Birmingham. So it'll be a great opportunity for our students to work with some local homegrown talent. We are also, I've had special permission from Anthony Russell Roberts from the Ashton Foundation to revive a Die Fledermaus, which is an explosion polka set to Johann Strauss, which was a group number before Ashton's Voices of Spring. And so it hasn't been performed, I believe, in the last 40 years. So we're extremely fortunate to have the honour of reviving that. But I think the big showpiece this year is a new choreography by David Bintley, who is all but finished it. He's been working with our graduate students primarily on the piece, and it's set to music by Raymond Scott, who was a composer for cartoons in the 1920s and 30s. So the music's very whimsical. It's laced with humour, and it's going to be an absolutely wonderful show-stopping piece. And we are so grateful to David for taking time out of his busy schedule to work hands-on with our students, and they have been absolutely delighted with working alongside the director of Birmingham Royal Ballet, as you can imagine. So it's going to be an extremely exciting performance, so I do encourage everyone to buy tickets.
Absolutely. Get your tickets now. elmhurstdance.co.uk. It sounds like Elmhurst is a very innovative company, a school rather, that is really focused on producing the best potential dancers for the future ballet companies in this country, with the Birmingham Royal Ballet and beyond. And I just want to ask a final question of you, Robert. What advice would you give to students who are listening today and hearing your own journey of, coming from up north, taking, your local ballet classes, going off to vocational school, landing with the Birmingham Royal Ballet, becoming a principal, artistic director of this wonderful ballet school? What advice would you give to students who would love to follow in your footsteps?
Well, I'm sorry to have to quote my grandma again. There is no substitute for hard work. And I would, I would just advise students to, potential students for the school, keep focused, learn your craft, listen to your teachers. They know what they're talking about, and make it your passion, make it your goal. It's difficult in the world we live in today. There are so many distractions, there are so many choices. But I think, to become a fully fledged classical ballet dancer, it does take self-sacrifice, it does take discipline, and it takes focus. And I think the more hungry they are, the more chance of success they will have.
So thank you so much for joining us today. And for our listeners who would like to learn more about this amazing school, visit their website, elmhurstdance.co.uk. And of course, tune in for our upcoming shows with Elmhurst students Hamish Scott and Lydia Holt, who will give us, from their perspective, the lowdown from the students' point of view. Thanks so much, Robert.
Thank you, Savannah.
Don't forget to subscribe. We've got some incredible interviews coming up with principal ballerinas and renowned choreographers. We love dance and ballet, and we hope you'll love us. Join us on Facebook and Twitter.